way, but sometimes people look at their way as wrong. As you were pointing out to me, and I was saying I'm dyslexic at times.
Yes.
That's a weakness rather than seeing the strengths that I do have within that framework of modality. And that it would be an ideal to maximize all the potentials that are within us and to be able to experience something in many ways. What's coming to mind is an example of a woman who was part of a group that I was talking to a couple of years ago, giving a presentation on a topic very similar to what we're looking at, only from a different approach, from a neurolinguistic programming perspective, on different submodalities.
Yes.
And I asked them to just get comfortable and relaxed and close their eyes and wave their hand if they could see a rainbow. And most of their hands went up. And then I asked how many could hear a rainbow, how many could smell a rainbow, and how many can taste a rainbow. Well, those numbers just dropped down to a few. But when I asked them how many now could see, hear, feel, and taste and smell a rainbow all at once, there was just one woman in that group. And I've met very few people who have developed all of these potentials so that they can actually experience one reality at 4 different levels. And I say, wow, I mean, that woman experienced the rainbow more than the rest of us have.
Well,
you know?
And I think one of the keys...
It's a beautiful ideal.
Exactly, and one of the... there are a couple keys to that, in my opinion. One, and you've been in education for a long time, that in education we're taught, and I'm going to suggest, shall I say unfortunately, that we take a test, and we get 99 correct on the test, and 1 wrong. Which one do we focus on? And we're taught that, and we're continually taught that, rather than looking towards excellence and acknowledging the excellence with ourselves, we look to see what is wrong. So one of the things that I would hope in our discourse and our time together is look to the excellence of other people and appreciate their different style, and possibly, as you so eloquently mentioned, maybe add to your beautiful vision of the rainbow the sound of it, the smell of it, the taste of it, the feel of it. And if we find that one person could do that, I know we can all learn that, step by step, with practice.
Okay, well, let's get into these first 2 that you're going to describe in some detail.
Great. Well, one of the ways to notice a visual analytical person is this person is in their mind. And quite often they will make choices and decisions that cognitively make all the sense in the world. And at the same time, sometimes they are less in touch with the emotions associated with that decision. The example I like to use is, let's say there is an attorney and a sheriff that are both visual and analytical. And there is a young woman or someone with a small child that has yet to pay rent, and they have an eviction notice, and there's snow outside. Now what happens is that the visual person, the analytical person, would see on the writ of eviction that today is the day that you are to leave this premises. They are protecting the person's investment. It is a fact. Okay? In that fact, there's very little compassion, would you say?
For those 2 people.
For those 2 people. Yeah. And at the same time, if they think about the investor, and this is the law, and if their primary mode of communication is this is the fact and it's important, and in fact, in a way, might be justified that I'm teaching them responsibility, now they may continue with that action. Okay? Because they are so focused on the visual analysis and the fact. That is the limitation of visual analytical. Now, obviously, in this...
Facts without feelings.
Facts without feeling. That's not to say that they aren't feeling. Please don't hear that. But it's certainly not the most predominant or, shall I say, dominant method of answering solutions.
Is it comparable to what you might call a major and a minor in music?
Yeah, I would say that, well, actually even more so, rather than the major and a minor in music, I might say they are dealing with the lyric, the actual words,
Okay.
and rather than noticing the melody.
Okay.
If they're feeling the melody and they're feeling the chill on the child's face and the compassion coming from their heart, that's a different style. So the person is evicted and is sitting on the curb with their baby in swaddling clothes. It happened a long time ago too, you know. A social worker comes on that is more auditory, that is more compassionate, and immediately they feel in their emotions the person's anguish. Immediately they spontaneously respond. They have a check in their back pocket. They give it to the person and say, here is the money, pay your rent. And immediately they feel great about it. And that spontaneous action is their normal style. They're feeling great. They come home and the husband says, well, you got the rent check, honey? She had forgotten that that was the check that was to pay their rent, because spontaneously in the moment there was no thinking. So what I'm suggesting is both of those patterns in combination rather than separately might be valuable. So if we would have had of both of those, shall I say, the music and the lyric, both of those systems dominant and conscious at the same time. See, that's the shall I say, difference, Romeo, is that usually the lyric or the music is conscious and the other one is less conscious.
Okay. But we're starting to run out of time, and
Okay.
I want you to be able to give our viewers a way of contacting you with a number and email.
Great.
Please.
Well, my name is John Maluso, and the easiest way to get this information and more is on the internet, World Wide Web, and that is meluso.com, meluso.com. Or certainly you can phone my office, 800-982-5521.
What would be your wrapping, your final, some statements you can make for our viewers on living this insight, the insight of being visual and auditory?
Well, one of the things I might say is know and love yourself. If you know your pattern, appreciate it. And appreciate and love the patterns of those around you. They are your teachers and they are your students. They may wish to learn visual as much as you might wish to learn auditory, if those are the opposite, shall I, styles we have. A long time ago, there was something that you may remember when Americans went to Europe, and they were known as ugly Americans. They were known as ugly Americans because they expected other people to speak their language. So I'd encourage other people to notice what language other people are speaking and do your best to speak that one.
John, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And thank you for joining us.